I forgot last time when we were talking, I was like, I think once you reach 5, I think episodes, that's like past what the norm, like most people don't get past the 5th episode.
Really?
Yeah, I think there's like something like you're officially like in the 1 percentile if you get past a certain amount. So we're working our way there.
2? You talking me 2?
All right, guys, welcome back to the Tell No Lies podcast. We are on episode 2 today. I'm your host, Devin Physique, and we got the lovely co-host, Doctor. When I think of that, I also think like Austin Powers,
I know.
Dr. Evil. But anyways, Dr. Ashley Contorno.
That is me.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you back again.
Glad to be back.
So one thing I wanted to say at the start of this, because we talked about this earlier, but remember, we were on here last time, and we talked about which was hotter, Phoenix or Las Vegas.
You gotta bring that up.
And here's the thing, right? Like, the fact that you actually looked it up, so it wasn't like I went and looked it up because I actually kind of forgot.
I needed a fact check.
So you fact checked it, and not only did you fact check it, what did you find out when you fact checked it?
Devin was right.
So there was like even just to take that accountability to go and do it, then to be wrong, and then to tell me that I was right.
And then I sent you a screenshot of it saying we have to put that in the episode. So I was saying that Vegas is hotter than Phoenix.
You were saying you
with
were
conviction.
Saying, yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
no.
What was making you believe that was the case?
Just because I've been here a couple times, I was like, damn. But on average,
have you been to Phoenix?
I lived there. I live in Scottsdale for a year and a half. So on average, it has more 100 plus degree days, higher total average, and more days over 110.
So there was a lot of facts going against Vegas, and you were like certain.
I was dying with that.
I was waiting for us to get on here because I was like, I gotta bring that up because that was one of them. So that's like the first Devin's right to the public with us.
I say it all. He's right a lot.
We'll take a running tally.
Devin's right. Ding.
So anyways, okay, so we jumped in the first episode. We got everything, out there, kind of giving them a little, taste of where the podcast, originated from as far as the ideas, how you intertwined, how we met, a little bit touching base on small introductions, right? I mean, obviously, I feel like the people that already follow you, they have a generalized idea of your back history, your story, whatever you've shown on social media, and obviously the same for me. So now it's bringing both of our worlds together, and, obviously me being more in the spotlight per se, a lot of people know, we've had conversations where people know me from the Shreds days and all that. So what we're going to do over these next couple episodes is kind of unravel a little bit more about our introduction into greater detail where our journeys align. I know I said in the first podcast too, like people see us throughout our journeys, right? So, essentially what we're going to be doing is taking all those journeys that were really key points in our growth or, to the next phase of what our journey looks like and kind of giving that storyboard so that way it can kind of take us to the present day of where we are. So obviously I've talked to you privately, alluding to the Shreds thing. That was obviously probably the biggest out of all the things for me. So obviously we'll dive into, for me, I think it's a matter of not about right or wrong in the Shreds aspect, but giving it from my side of the story and also being able to reflect now from those times to like where we are now and like just how much of a different mindset I have, how life's different.
Because you've never talked about that.
No, never. I think I addressed one of the scenarios that was in it, but that was kind of it in that moment, but never the greater detail, right? People see what they've saw, and we talked about it where like people just still harp on that. It's like 10 years later, that's the one memory. So we'll kind of take you down memory lane with all of our, key points that have helped us grow, get to where we are. And then, so today, Ashley's going to be the one that's going to dive a little bit. I'm actually excited to hear your story because I don't know too much of it. And we kind of put that on the back burner knowing that you were going to be, sharing that story with us. So I know I'll have some questions along the way when we're kind of going there. So I think this is a good time to kind of just transition it over to you to kind of take us on a spin, baby. I'm excited.
It's a daunting task to know, like, all right, at what point of my life is my story important? Like, when someone asks you, like, tell your story. Well, how much do we tell? Where do we start? Like,
and how do we know that?
I was born smiling. Is that where we start?
Yeah,
I was.
And I think we've talked about that too. How do we how do we know where to start in our journey that becomes, I think a part of it's too, like relevancy to the viewers, and then also a key point in our life too, right?
Right.
So where did you feel like when you were piecing it together, where you decided this is the start point for me?
I think it's really kind of like when I decided I want to be a physical therapist. That's like, it's the majority of my adult life. It's the biggest decisions that I've made that have brought me to who I am. And like, that's kind of the best place that I feel like to start it, the most important sequence. And I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. So
Okay, so that's first segment. How old were you in that starting point?
I was 16 when I decided I wanted to be a PT.
So we're starting at 16.
Starting at 16, baby.
Okay,
My mom broke her ankle outside. I was washing the dishes, and there was a window. And in Ohio, you have like a garage fridge for like your pops and shit. We say pop. And she was going to get one, and I just see this tuft of snow go by, and I was like, what was that? And then I hear her screaming, and she fell and she broke her ankle. And it was a gnarly fracture, trimalleolar fracture, like one of the worst ones that you can have where you need rods and screws and everything to repair it. I took her to physical therapy. First time. I was like, this is what I want to do.
Okay, did she tell you that you needed to go there?
Oh, no, it was, I saw it and I was like, this is healing medicine without a prescription. I've always like had this like health backbone that's just supported my whole life. Like I've always wanted to be healthy, work out. Like I don't know a time when I didn't work out. And it's just in my DNA to like longevity and just want to be healthy and well. And I saw this profession where it's like they're healing my mom without writing her a prescription because all she was getting was pills at that time. And I drove her because I just got my license. So I had to take her to every single one. So I just watched the process and it was so fascinating to me. And school was super easy for me. I had like a really normal upbringing, I would say. Like I was a straight A student, lived in little fucking white America, a little teeny little town and suburb of Cleveland, Ohio, just did my shit. And I graduated with like almost a 4.0. Like just school came so easy. Almost. But not quite there.
I think I was getting like handful of C's. I was just like average. What is average, right? Like would that be average? Like I had A's in the ones you were supposed to have A's in, but the hard ones, like that's where you really know if you're smart, right?
Yeah.
Is like those hard classes where it's like the shit that you didn't want to do. Like what were your grades for those? Like PE, A+.
Yeah, right. I would say average is probably like B-, C+.
Now
range.
does that like smartness like that, does that play into going into that field too, like to have
yeah,
those
it's a doctorate. So I had this plan. I was like, I'm going to graduate college. I'm going to get my bachelor's in 3 years, and then I'm going to get my doctorate. It's a 3-year doctorate. So normally to get your doctorate, you have to get your master's degree first. But this is like a bypassing program where you go from bachelor's to doctorate. Even though like the professional physical therapy, I think the reputation is laughable. Like people think we just walk people. Like we literally have doctoral education, like the amount of education we have to have about the integumentary system, neuroscience, everything that has to do with the body is basically like the level of a physician. And they treat it like that when you're in school, and they treat it like that to get in. So I got my bachelor's in 3 years. I had a double minor. I bought my first house at that time too. I lived alone, worked full time, and I went to school, finished it in 3 years, tried to get into the grad school. Nope. 3 years I waited to try to get in, and I was like...
And why were they denying you?
I didn't have a high enough GPA. I had a 3.8.
Oh, see, so the GPA got you.
Yeah, it got me there. The college GPA. So, because grad school was different, but I had a 3.8, and then they look at like what's called your core classes, which is like what's more relevant to the major. My GPA was like a 3.2 there. So I had to just keep taking those little core classes over and over again. They were fucking hard. Neuroscience. I had to take that one 4 fucking times. I'll never forget. The professor was so hard. Anyways, the year I was going to give up, I got in. And I was just going to do an accelerated nursing it's like a BSN to RN program. And I'm glad I remember the day like it was yesterday. Like I got the email. I was at work with my best friend, Lindsay, and I fell to the ground crying because I was like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. I'm just like working and going back to school to make my grades better, to do this profession that only makes like $80,000 when you graduate, even though you have to go to school for all this time. I don't know why I still stuck with it. I should have done something more lucrative. But getting into that school changed the trajectory of my life. So I started grad school, and I was in this relationship going into PT school, and I ended up marrying the guy. Like 24 years old, got married while I was in grad school.
How long did you know this guy before you got married?
We got together when I was like 21, and grad school was when I was 23.
And you guys were consistent the whole time, or was it like
Yeah.
an off and on type of thing?
It was like, I didn't have a good example of what real love or real relationships looked like. This was like the dude that gave me the most attention out of any of the dudes I'd ever been with. So I was like, all right, that's the one. And
You didn't know any better.
yeah, just like I just wanted to be loved so bad that I just settled for the first guy that gave me any attention, as I'm sure so many women do. And then you also think that getting married is going to make your relationship better, and nothing changes with a piece of paper. It's just.
Do you feel like being in like Cleveland and in that area, people are also raised to get married?
Oh, yeah.
In a different light? Because I had a friend like Louisiana, it was like very old school. Like you do for the husband, he works all day, you take care of the kids. Like you get young at a young age, you get married. So I feel like different parts of the United States are raise you differently.
Yeah, that's the blueprint there. You like we were together for 3 years, so it's like if you're not getting married, what are you guys
Something's
doing?
wrong, yeah.
Yeah, so it was like it's called the relationship escalator. Like people just want you to ride it, and they want the white picket fence in the house, and we did all that. We got married. We bought a house, a brand new, really nice house. I got into grad school, and things were not going well personally, but I pretended like they were perfect. And at that time, that's when I started bodybuilding too.
Was he into it?
No, he didn't like me. Like at one point in our relationship, he told me that if I get more muscular, he's not going to be attracted to me anymore. Like he was just not.
See, that goes back to what we had said that other talking when we were talking about Steven. Like, so he saw you at a certain point, and he didn't want you to progress.
Yeah.
To more muscular because that made him feel some type of way. So what did you end up doing?
Oh, I didn't give a shit what he thought, but he didn't appreciate me anyways. Like I had to beg the man for a compliment. I would like dress up and parade around and like, you know, looking all cute like this and like, look at me, give me attention, you know. And
but did he like you dressed that way?
I don't really think he really liked me at all too much, to be honest. It just, we didn't love each other. We were kids. We were young. I don't really have anything bad to say about the guy, except he cheated on me in the end, which is another story. But I ended up getting married and divorced while I was in PT school. And that was not only rough on my like interpersonal reputation, because you're in there with 36 people for 3 years. You take every single class, every single day together. So you get to know. I invited them all to my wedding.
Because they were like the present day like best friends.
Yeah. And then
isn't that crazy how like, you know, you can look at those scenarios, like even those people that you invited, like do you talk to any of them?
There's of grad school, there's like 5 women I'm still really close with.
And that's rare.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know, like that could have just been that time period where they were relevant. So they were all of your groom bridesmaids and all that other stuff. And you look back and you're like, dude, I don't talk to none of those people.
Yeah. But remember we talked about, like, I said that a lot of my relationships and friendships are so strong because they're highly educated women.
True.
So it's like they stay a constant in my life because they're on par emotionally where I'm at, and I can have a long distance relationship with them and it's fine because they're all still in Ohio. Yeah. So we got divorced, and that about him really doesn't matter too much, the particulars. But when I got divorced from him, my family had an intervention on me and his family. And it was like the most cool thing for me in a weird way ever, because it was the first time I stood up and had my own voice. They all like invited me over, and it was a surprise intervention. You shouldn't get divorced. We know what's better for you than what you do. And I just said, you know, the scene in Half Baked where the dude's like, fuck you.
Oh, yeah.
To everybody, you're cool. There was no one there that was cool, because the one person they didn't invite was my best friend Lindsay, who was like, stand on my side.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually knew my husband before she knew me, but she was still like, no, you deserve happiness. They didn't invite her.
Of course not.
So I was like, I don't understand why any of you wouldn't look at me, the sad, sad woman, and think you should do whatever makes you happy. That's what family is all about. And in that moment, I'm like, these people aren't my family. These people aren't my friends. They don't care about my best interests. And I was like, you guys don't go to bed in mine, and you don't wake up in it. So you have no right to tell me what you think I should do with my life. I am out. And then I decided I was moving out of that state.
And he was there too, right?
No.
Oh, okay, so
No.
it was an intervention, but he wasn't there.
Yeah, it was like his mom.
Oh, so they were like rallying to like get you to get him back or something.
Yeah. They thought
they
that like
weren't-
I was the problem because I wanted to leave and I didn't give enough. I gave a lot. Like I did a lot of things on my own to really try. But at the end of the day, there was never enough substance there to keep us together.
Correct.
It didn't matter how much I did. We didn't really love each other. It was just a situation of convenience and I didn't know any better. And I'm so thankful for that moment because I was like, I will never just blindly go into what society thinks I should do or this pressure of this blueprint of this life that people think is ideal that they think they should do. I was like, I'm doing what I want, period. I'm leaving this place. I want to start a new life. I want to be somewhere that's exciting and fun. And there's a lot more opportunity than just doing the same thing every single day. I love going back to visit home, but it's like a capsule in time. Like
no one's progressing.
Shit doesn't change. Like I want so much more out of life, and I knew I wasn't going to get it there. And that moment pushed me over the edge to like, this is who Ashley is, like me or not. And to this day, there was like relationships that were still fractured in my family because of that. Because some of my family was there, and it's just like no. So I moved eventually once I graduated PT school, took the test. And I moved out west. I packed up. I had a Nissan Juke Nismo. Do you know what that is?
Seems small.
It's like my car now, but a little smaller. Like it's like a mini SUV. I love that car.
Now, what made you decide you were going west out of all the places?
I just wanted to be somewhere where it was warm. I hate the snow. I remember the year I left, it snowed on Easter. And I was like, I can't handle this anymore. I'm so glad I'm leaving. So I packed up my car, everything I owned. I lived with this lady for a little bit because my apartment lease went up and I couldn't renew it. And I had room for my best friend Lindsay in the front seat, my dog Nova in the back seat, and everything else I owned fit in the trunk or the passenger or the rear behind the driver's seat. It was like tight. And I had like a little roof rack thing. But she helped me. We did a road trip, moved out west, and I started doing travel physical therapy. It's like travel nursing.
Okay.
Where you take 3-month contracts.
Yeah, I know a little bit. I have some friends that do that. I don't know too much of how that works as far as, do you go to a location and you stay in that area until
it's like a 3-month contract. It's usually like 13 weeks. It can be 16, 20. There's a lot of different negotiations about how it is, but I wanted to go with my friend, so we couldn't be picky because we wanted the same area. Usually you can choose like, oh, I want this setting. Like I want to be in a hospital. I want to be in a skilled nursing. I want to be outpatient. But since we wanted to be together, we couldn't be picky about where we got assigned, just that we were all close in proximity.
Got it.
So 2 of us roomed together. The other one was a couple cities away 'cause she had a different opportunity. But we were in Bullhead City.
Okay.
Would you know where that is?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's if you don't know where it is, it's like hillbilly Vegas.
She said hillbilly Vegas. And I've never explored like Bullhead to its entirety, just like going to Havasu. Like you go there for the watercrafts and all, the boats and everything. So even with Bullhead, you're kind of just driving. A lot of people are just driving through, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say most of the traffic is just people driving through?
I mean, there's not a lot of traffic, to be honest.
The traffic when there is.
Yeah. Because the Laughlin's there. So I was actually in Laughlin. Bullhead City and Laughlin, they're 2 seconds from each other. So I was at the hospital, and that contract, like life was going good. I was just living free, doing what I wanted. And I made the decision also that I didn't want to be validated by having a relationship. I wanted to be a full person on my own when I got that divorce, because I felt like the only real picture I had of like love was like my mom is a serial monogamous. Like she cannot be without a relationship my entire life. And I didn't know what it was like in my adult life to truly be single, because I was with him. I did, high school, college, grad. Like my life progressed so fast, and I was working the whole time. So I was like, I'm gonna do me and just chill with my friends and have a good fucking time. And like, that's where I developed this really strong sense of hyper independence that sometimes is a negative thing. Like I have a hard time letting people do for me, or letting my guard down, or letting a man take the lead. Like I want to be 50-50 at all times. Like that, all that hardened me a little bit to just have this hyper resilience and hyper independence where I feel like I can't rely on anybody.
Mm-hmm. Which I guess is a good thing too, right? Because you never get put in a bad scenario, because you always know you have to have your back. Because still at the end of the day, I think that's still something important to have too, right? Is no one has your back but you. Yeah. So it's a good thing to have, but knowing to when to release it, right? And give some pull on the other side with whoever it is.
Because it can be exhausting.
Yeah.
Like always being on for yourself. Like sometimes you just want to release the burden,
Yep.
And I told myself I wasn't going to do any of that until I found the right person to allow me to just like melt my guard, and I can just feel at ease with them. So I was just living the dream, like
Plus, coming off that relationship, you were in no position to think anything other than being free.
Yeah.
Going to the West Coast, what's the last thing on your mind? Be in a relationship?
Right. Yeah. So I didn't even date. I think there was one guy I met that was a bouncer that I thought was super hot that I ended up convincing to go on a date with me. And then he stole my car keys and it turned out all
He
bad.
stole your car keys.
He wouldn't give my car keys back.
Jesus. You pick 'em.
Wherever you are, bouncer in Scottsdale, give me my car keys.
Oh, you were
back.
at Scottsdale, huh?
Yeah.
So you made your way from Bullhead over there.
Yeah. I ended up finding, she actually, so I'm crazy, Devin. You know this, like type A crazy, not like, relationship crazy.
Yeah.
This is how crazy I am. When I moved with my friend Lindsay from Ohio to Arizona, I made a itinerary where we were going to go every day, what time we were going to wake up, what time we were going to leave, how many miles we were going to drive, what our destination was, and if there was anything on the way and when we had to be there.
From Cleveland to
Like,
Arizona.
Day 3 in New Mexico on a Wednesday from 1 to 3, I caught us a food truck festival. That's how detailed I was.
Now, what was the inspiration? You just wanted to, hey, this is a once in a lifetime thing, probably.
Let's get the most of it. And I
you're
had
traveling, right? Like with your car.
but I had to pre-book the Airbnbs because I was with the dog.
Correct.
So it was like we had to stay on schedule to find somewhere that could accept Nova.
Yeah, I guess you could have booked an Airbnb and said, this is a rest spot, move on to the next. But you obviously, how you are, you do the extra.
Yeah. So Lindsay's only rule for me was I couldn't start talking until she had at least 1 cup of coffee because I wake up like this. Like I don't even take caffeine. If you're not
how many days was this?
It was 4 or 5 days. 5 days, I think, to get us out there. We took our time.
Did she like that you took your time?
Yeah.
Okay, so she wasn't like
she was down for the trip. She's still to this day. She's one of my best friends.
Just the morning aspect, like you need to chill.
Yeah, she needs her coffee. She's a coffee gal.
That's fair.
So along the way, one of those Airbnbs was this chick Alyssa, who so happens to be a physical therapist as well. She has a house. She has a Rottweiler, and both of our dogs got along and they were cool. And she took us out to Scottsdale. Like, what a cool Airbnb host, right? Like, everything was cool. I ended up asking her later after my first assignment ended if she wanted a roommate. And she's like, hell yeah, I would love a roommate. And I moved in with her. I met her from Airbnb. So that was like really, and we're still friends to this day too.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. And she did.
What Airbnb did you meet her at on the way?
Scottsdale.
Okay, so at the very end,
yeah,
you met her.
Yeah.
And then was that her place?
Yeah.
So you guys just stopped doing the Airbnb and like she picked up you as a roommate and then left it as you guys pay the monthly or whatever?
Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah. And we're still friends.
Now, what about the other girl that was traveling? She ended up getting her own place?
No, so she still lives in Ohio.
Oh, so she just came down for the trip.
Yeah, and then we went out to Vegas, partied one night, and then she flew from Vegas home. That was like one of the only times I pulled an all-nighter in Vegas. We ended up at the Luxor some morning with people doing cocaine. I did not do cocaine. Okay. And she flew out of Vegas in the morning, and it was a fun trip. She still is like, she's one of those friends that have been with me for every single transition of my life. Since I was 20 years old, we became friends, 16 years. And she's about to come out here now to see my new Vegas house. And like,
and how often do you think you guys see each other? Is it pretty sporadic?
About twice a year, like once her coming to me and once me going out there.
But I feel like the real good friendships that you have are the ones that you don't have to speak to on a daily basis.
For sure.
You know, you could talk to them aggressively one week and then not talk for months and pick right back up like nothing changed.
Yeah, I have I would say like 5 or 6 really good friends like that. And I feel privileged, and I've acquired them all way later in life than like childhood friends. I don't really have any of that. Lindsay's my longest friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. I don't think I have too many like childhood friends either.
Yeah.
But I feel like, you grow out of those. I mean, very rarely do you have a scenario where like that person continued through your journey with you. You guys, at high school, it's like you don't even know who you are.
Yeah.
People don't even know who they are now.
Yeah, this is very true. We talk about that all the time.
So you were in Arizona then when you met him?
Yeah, I was in Scottsdale living with Alyssa.
Okay.
Yeah, and I didn't want to go to Vegas.
How shortly after moving in with the girl, okay, you moved in with this chick that you met through Airbnb.
Yeah.
How long were you living with her until Steven came into the picture?
Probably 2 months.
Okay, so it was quick.
No, a month. It was quick because I agreed to go to Vegas with the lady that I was living with in Ohio before I left. I said I was living with someone because I didn't want to do my lease. I was living with her, and she and I made plans where she was going to come out to Vegas and we were going to spend a weekend. That was cool when I was in Bullhead City because it was an hour and a half drive. Now that I moved to Scottsdale, it was a flight, and I was like bumming about it, and I was like, fuck. But I ended up moving early because sometimes the contracts end before you think they're going to end, so you just have to go or stay and not work. So I got another contract. So I flew, and I remember I was like, it was expensive or something that weekend. So I flew in the day before she was going to get there. And as you remember, I am type A, right? With my lists and all of this. I didn't book anything until I got off the plane, which is like so unlike me. I just packed my bags.
And this is in Vegas.
This is in Vegas.
So like the last place you would just
randomly figure it out.
Especially you.
Yes. Why? I don't know. So I'm getting off the jet bridge and I'm finding an Airbnb that's Instabook.
So you didn't even book one.
I booked it, right, because she had the hotel. She has like points. The hotel was for the next night, and she wasn't coming in until the morning. So I was like, I'll just find one fucking room for one night. The Instabook Airbnb, it was $52. It was a studio apartment that was owned by a man. Why would I choose this?
Yeah.
I chose it. I don't know.
It's like a scary movie where they're like, why would you go into the shed?
Yes, I went into the shed and I chose that Airbnb. And the guy messaged me. He's like, there's a key in the bush, behind parking spot J501 or whatever. I'm like, this is so sketchy, but here I am getting dropped off from my Uber. Get the key, get into his house. He's like, I work at daylight at Mandalay Bay. I won't be home till like 6 a.m, so make yourself at home. So I do, and I sleep on the couch because it's a studio apartment. I still don't know why I booked this. He comes in at 6 a.m, and he's like, got this full-on British accent, which I love accents. And he's just like, well, I'm going to butcher it so bad, but like, hello, and how was your slumber? And, oh, my name is...
So he's staying there.
So he's off work.
Oh, so you got like one of those ghetto Airbnbs.
Yes.
Where like they're like in the next room.
It was by the Hard Rock.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
He wanted some company.
I don't know so we were up, so I was checking out then. So really I slept alone. He just came in at the end of his shift and he's like asking me about my trip and what I'm doing, and I told him, my friend was flying in a couple hours, so I'm just going to go fuck off until she gets here. He's like, oh, well, I'm the club promoter at Mandalay Bay Daylight. Why don't you and your girlfriend come and we'll give you a free cabana and some drinks? And I was like, well, that sounds lovely. So that was the plan for the day. So my friend Amy flies in. We link up. We start to get ready. We head down to the pool party. We're like ready to get it on, And Steven was there. So if I didn't book that Airbnb and meet that guy and go to that party, I would have never met Steven. So it was like the most out of character moment I've ever had in my life, led me to the best decision of my life. And so I see him and he's like sitting at the edge of the pool with just like his legs in, and he's a 300-pound, very buff man with very long hair, very large pecs.
Did he have that big beard when you
Yes,
met?
very long beard down to his chest. He was smaller than he was like at the end of his life, but he was probably like 275. He was at the end of a bulk, and he was about to cut for his first show when he came back from that bachelor party. So he was there for a bachelor party for one of his buddies that he has. All of his friends were like high school, hometown. None of them ever moved away. So I feel like that's why you keep friends for lifelong when you never leave your hometown.
True.
It's because they're there always.
And he was one of those people too. He didn't leave his hometown.
No. Well, he did.
Where is hometown?
San Pedro, California.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that's where he went to high school and stuff.
What is even over there?
Long Beach across the bridge. Not much.
Yeah.
Not much. Hoodlums and hood rats.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so you're at this pool, unplanned, everything against everything you stand for.
Yes.
Yes, and okay, where do you see him? Just across the pool?
So we were in the pool, and I see him sitting at the edge of the pool with his feet in the water, hands on his hips, and he's getting his hair braided by this very voluptuous woman that I can only describe looks like Lizzo. Like, she was not a small black woman. She was in charge. And she was braiding his hair. And I was like, oh, damn, he's hot. But obviously he's taken or whatever. So later, Amy and I are walking, getting drinks. And Steven's friends come up to me, his friend Max. And he goes, hey, or his friend Albert. Doesn't matter. Hey,
Hey.
You're pretty buff. My friend. He's pretty buff. You should go talk to him. And then I did.
But did you say, but what about that big
No,
voluptuous?
because she was gone at that point.
Oh, she was gone.
Yeah, so then we joined in the pool and we talked for hours and hours and hours. And like I kept getting up to go to the bathroom because I'm polite. And he's like, I thought you were going to go every time and never come back. And you kept coming back. And we were drinking these like...
You're like, no, bro, I just really got to pee.
Yeah, I had to pee. I'm trying not to pee in the pool, you know? We were drinking these huge drinks like this big. They were $50 a drink.
Jesus.
It was just like
Vegas just
4
raping
vodkas.
You, just getting you.
Yeah. So eventually we're talking like just into each other. And then my friend Amy is talking to one of his other friends, Max, into each other. But all of a sudden the fucking whistles are blowing. Like whistle, whistle, whistle. And I'm like, what is going on? Someone had puked in the pool and we're the last ones in there. We just weren't paying attention. Everybody evacuated the pool because someone vomited gnarly in it.
Nice. And just like a chunk floating.
Yes.
Oh, that makes sense why everyone's out of the pool but us.
Yeah. But we were just like so infatuated with each other. And then I was drunk as fuck though too. And he was high on cocaine and really drunk. And I don't know. I was just like, I'm having the Vegas experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, we all decided to go back to us 4. He was there with like 6 of his friends. His friend Max also went like this with his wedding ring before they went to the pool that day, knowing that he was trying to get some.
And he was the one getting married.
Yeah. No, it wasn't his bachelor party. It was someone else.
Married.
He was already married. Yeah. So us 4 go back to mine and Amy's hotel room. Amy and married Max are in the bed right next to us.
Just laying it.
Slapping.
Jesus.
And I'm like, oh, let's talk about me. Let's talk about my degrees. Let's talk about where I'm from. Let's talk about I was not.
Like while it was going on.
Yes.
So there was just no chill.
I turned on Pandora. I listened to Pandora at that time. And somehow I turned on epic movie scores. So it was like, dun, 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 dun.
Wow, it was like the whole cinema.
It was. But I just wanted to talk to him. I didn't want to fuck. I didn't want, like, and he's raging hard, like raging boner. And then at one point he got really frustrated and he looks me dead in the eye and he's like, it's 2016. I at least deserve a hand job.
He did not.
He said that. He said that.
What did you say?
I was like, on that note, you can leave my hotel room.
Oh, so you kicked him out?
Yeah.
God damn, you just said
I was
that.
like,
and he just said it's 20. What did he say?
It's 2016. I at least deserve a hand job.
I at least deserve a hand. Yeah, I guess that's fair back then.
So he left, and before he left, I was like, "Give me your phone," and I deleted my number out of his phone.
Oh wow, this is like
He's dead to me.
Yeah, this is like a movie.
Crossed a boundary. So he left. He went back to his hotel room, and then he went in the closet and he jerked off.
Now, did he tell you this later, obviously?
Yeah. But he gave himself the hand job.
So he got back to the place and said, well, it's 2016. If she's not going to do it, I'm going to have to do it myself.
I'm going to give myself a hand job.
Wow.
So he did.
Now, real quick, how long did it take him post to tell you this story?
Really early on. I'll tell you why.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay. So I went out about the rest of my weekend, like, no harm, no foul. Forgot about that guy, whatever. And then I left on, I don't remember what day I got home. It doesn't matter. But I ended up looking him up just because I was still thinking about him because I still had his number in my phone. So I looked up his name and I found his Facebook and he's in a relationship. And I was like, ooh, now I don't feel bad at all.
Wow, this did not start very good.
I know.
It had a lot of roller coaster rides.
It is.
Jesus.
And they had been together for like 4 years. And I was just like, dang, well, that sucks. Moving on. Didn't think about him again. Maybe that was the day I got back, like on Monday. Thursday, I get a text from him. Hey, this is Steven. I'm just wondering if you have 5 minutes for me to give you a phone call. I really need to talk to you. And I was like, I'll entertain it. And then I want to call him out and say, what about your girlfriend?
That was really the motive.
Yeah,
that
sure.
was a real motive.
I was like, how is he going to play this? Is he
like, what could he possibly say to me right now? Like, right. I got so much dirt on him, he doesn't even know.
Right. So I let him call me, and I could tell he was so nervous. And basically a summary of what he said was, I need to be honest with you. I haven't stopped thinking about you since the moment that I met you. I need to tell you that I'm in a relationship. And the moment that I started talking to you, I realized that that is not my person. And if it's not you, That's fine. But I now know that there's someone else out there that is better suited for me than the relationship that I'm in. So I went home and I immediately broke up with my girlfriend. She has moved back home with her family. I want to meet you. I want to come see you again. Can I do that?
Now, how much of that did you believe at that moment?
All of it.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know
What
why.
if he was just fucking lying? He lied the first time, right? So what made it?
He didn't lie. I never asked.
True, but he was putting himself in quite a hole because he was kind of. Well, would you consider that cheating at the time?
Yeah. Yeah.
He didn't even get the hand job.
And he didn't even get the hand job.
But
like, the way this man's authenticity and sincerity and the way he just put his heart on his sleeve, I could tell it was genuine. I could tell it was real. And then he told me how he got my phone number. And then I was like, oh, this man really wants. So I deleted my phone number out of his phone, right? No record. I didn't like text him or call him. He had to go to some hacker and do a data dump on his phone, which was dumped every number that has ever been saved in his entire phone. And he knew I was from Cleveland, so he went through all the Cleveland numbers until he found mine. And that's why he texted me first.
Who's the hacker that he had?
I don't know. I was like, that's some stalker level shit. Because like, if I wasn't attracted to this man, that would be creepy.
Now, how do we? Oh yeah. I mean, it could have went so many different ways because he crossed your boundary too.
Right.
So how did you get past that hurdle? Because that was the reason why nothing progressed, anyways.
I just felt like what he said to me touched my heart in a way that I have never felt. Like this man's perseverance and determination to find me, to chat with me, to even have the opportunity. Like, I'm gonna fly you. I'll get my own hotel. I just need to see you again. I just need to talk to you again. Like, I've never had someone drawn to me in that way, and it was fascinating. And I felt drawn into him as well. And then we started texting like madmen, just like I screenshotted a lot of them at that time, and like I'll still go back and revisit them. And like we just opened our hearts and our lives to each other. And it wasn't for 3 weeks until I was like, at first I didn't say yes for him to come see me. I was like, let me get to know you and talk to you and build some trust before I just allow you to come see me. So we talked for 3 weeks until I let him come see me. And then I did get us a separate hotel because I was like, I don't want him to know where I live. And what if he's creepy and I want to leave? I'm going to get in my car and I'm going to go and he can stay here, you know? But right away, once we got that hotel the first night, like it was on. Like, I was just so drawn to this man and he was so drawn to me, and it was like nothing I had ever felt in my entire life, and it was reciprocal in every way that it could be.
Now, do you feel like your boundaries changed because there was also now 3 weeks of like conversation back and forth?
Yeah.
So you felt more comfortable?
For sure, yeah.
And I feel like you probably made him feel some type of way because you did leave him empty-handed. He had to go jerk it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big driving force too, right? If you're really willing to invest into someone that you care about, that would be on the back burner as far as priorities.
Yeah.
You know, and that's probably how he saw it too. Like, damn, this girl didn't budge.
Yeah, he just was like, I never have met anyone like you. I never have met anyone who
didn't give me a 2016 plan
right?
job.
Like that just had more, because I'm very smart, like book smart, didactic smart, education smart. His intelligence level was on like another level as far as just how he perceived the world, his ability to understand, read things, retain knowledge. Like he needed someone who could mentally stimulate and challenge him, and he had never done that. I am the only woman to this date that he's never cheated on. He's cheated on every single woman he's ever been with. And
even the one that he was with before you.
Yeah.
For you.
Even that one. Yeah. And I don't know. I didn't judge him for it because he was so open with me about all of it. Just like how you feel when you talk to women and you're just your true authentic self. Not only do people like you more, but it's like I have nothing to hide. I don't feel like I need to go do the shady stuff.
Yeah.
And like that's how it was with him. He told me everything, and I just took his truth as his, like, I want to learn about this man as he is, because I am coming to you as I am with all of my flaws and all of my whatever I have. This is who I am. Like me or hate me, because I didn't want to pretend anymore. And he never did from day one. And I just always appreciated that about him. And basically we ended up getting married in Vegas as well, but not that weekend or anything. We did long distance for 4 months, and then I ended up moving to California. He lived in San Pedro, Southern California, and I was going there to try to do PT first, and then I just like found a job and never left. Like our relationship just progressed. It still is difficult for me as that hyper independent woman to say I moved
For him.
for a man
So when you moved to California, where in California?
in San Pedro.
Okay, so you moved to be by him.
Yeah, and I moved in the apartment that he lived in with his ex.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you tell me like about the I'm gonna list more stories. It's kind of like when you tell me like just let me think that I was the one that did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it goes with that. You don't want to believe that some man potentially was the idea of making you move.
Yeah. But to be honest, like I don't regret that decision. It made more sense for me to move because my career can go anywhere. He was in the union. He was a union plumber in the trades, and like LA is booming as far as construction goes. So it was like, why wouldn't I come? And I thought I was originally just going to take contract jobs, and then if I didn't like him, I would leave. And I did that at first, but then I ended up staying and got a full-time job. We got engaged 6 months into our relationship on our first vacation together, and then we got married the following year. We got married on New Year's Eve. We actually had like a ceremony in Jamaica on New Year's Eve, but we had the wedding in Vegas on his birthday by little Elvis. It was awesome.
So it was a midget.
It was a midget, yeah.
You planned that.
Yeah, it was what he wanted. Okay, so...
Well, remember we talked about the midgets with him briefly, which I'm sure you have a
He had an
deeper
obsession.
connection with midgets.
Yes. Well, I wanted to get married in Vegas because in Jamaica, the consulate was closed on New Year's Day. So we wouldn't have had a feasible timeline to submit the paperwork to get legally married in Jamaica. So I was like, okay, we have to do it in the United States before we leave. LA is like on Fridays between 1 and 4 by appointment only. And I was like, why don't we just do it in Vegas? We were going there for a competition of mine for powerlifting. And he's like, when we got there, he's like, fine, only if it's by a midget and only if he's dressed like Elvis. And I'm like, all right, we got 6 options. Which one do you want?
They had that.
They have everything. They have everything you could ever want you can get married by. They got, when you go and get your marriage license, which is in old Vegas, it's not like, you can't just do it all together. But they have people like with flyers like, who do you want to get married by? Tina Turner, Michael Jackson, like,
And the prices range based off what it is.
yeah. So it was like $600. We got like 4 Polaroids. He walked me down the aisle singing "Fools Fall in Love." It was fun. There was a moment where we both cried because we realized, like, holy shit,
We're about to get married.
we're getting legally married right now in front of our 2 of our friends were there and Elvis. But then we did the
And Elvis.
Elvis. He had our name on sticky notes, and he's like, "Do you, Ashley, take this a man, Steven?" He was Russian.
Whoa.
Yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah, you'd never forget it.
And it felt so refreshing because my first wedding was the big 250 person, $30,000 wedding back in 2013.
And you're like, I don't even like half these people here.
I walked down the aisle like, I don't love this dude. I
Yeah.
thought that in my head. I
Yeah.
don't love this man. What am I doing? And I had a $600 wedding by a little Elvis, and it was the best thing ever.
Yeah, and it was like not even a fraction of the cost, I'm
Right.
sure.
It was so rewarding and fulfilling to do something that we wanted to do, and it was for no one else but ourselves. He had never been married before or anything like that. But something that he always did for me was like push me to be the best version of myself. Like if I even expressed the smallest amount of interest in something, he was like, we're doing it. Let's do it. And he knew my potential even more than I ever did. And that was something where we started our gym. He was like, we should open a gym. We should open a gym. We should open a gym. This gym doesn't have this. We had like 6 different gym memberships, depending on because I was powerlifting, he was bodybuilding, and I needed really specific equipment in order to go on certain days, like deadlift bars or a nice bench because of the technical, aspects of it. And we hated leaving our dogs at home for hours on end after we both worked all day, then go to the gym for like 4 hours. So finally, we came back from our honeymoon, and I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's pull the trigger. Let's open a gym. And from January to March, I planned, I schemed, I did everything. By the end of March, we were brick and mortar open for April 1st.
And how soon was that after you guys got married?
3 months.
Damn, that was quick.
Really quick. So he knew that it was like his dream, but he knew that he didn't have that type of skill set that I had to start the business, make the plan, find the place.
Maintain it, yeah.
I did everything.
Yeah.
He was just like the driver, the visionary, the idea man. But without that, I wouldn't have been able to do what I was doing. So it's like, even though he didn't do a lot of work in creating and starting it, if it wasn't for his vision and his drive and his direction and his push, it would have never been. So I don't ever do a tally for tally. Sometimes when I was mad at him, I would, of like how much more work I do for the business, but like none of it would happen without him. And it wouldn't have been as cool without his vision. It would have been like a library if it was mine. So we started really small. South Bay Strength Company was born in 2018. We were both working full time. He was working downtown. I was working at the hospital. So we opened a 24/7 staffless gym, and it was only 1,200 square feet, super small. It was a vibe. It was grungy. It was dirty. It was everything you would want a hardcore gym to be, like a don't fuck with me attitude.
So the members just came in with their own little
key fobs. Yeah. And we were there for 3 years. Our landlord sucked. At the end of our lease, when our lease was ending, was during COVID. And I was personally struggling there, like, a lot. My whole life I've had bulimia from like 14 till I was about 32. And like right before COVID was when I finally stopped my disease. Like I had been in therapy for 4 years at that point. And I was really nervous that COVID was going to push me back over the edge into some of my old patterns and coping mechanisms. But I just drank a lot, to be honest. But I was super stressed because we had to close the business. We still had to pay rent, but no one could come. And our tenants, we lived in a duplex that we lived upstairs. Our tenants downstairs stopped paying us rent. And I did the math one day. I was like, we have 3 months until we have $0 in the bank. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
It was so stressful because there was no relief for landlords or for business owners. And we were both.
Yeah.
And at that moment is when I really started hating the government, to be honest, and really hating California of like, how can you do this to a subsection of your citizens, say that you don't get any protections, but someone who's not paying rent is protected. But like, I still have to pay my business rent, even though my business is closed. Not saying I wouldn't pay that money back, but how do you expect someone to survive?
Correct.
And people think business owners and landlords are just full of money and they don't care. So it was a really troubling time, but I'm glad I had him to lean on. And we ended up leaving and expanding. We took a bet on ourselves during that time, and we were in 1,200 square feet. I found an 8,000 square foot place, and we were like, this is the moment. We are going all in. And we agreed, it's you and me against the world. I don't care what happens. We were going to make this succeed. And we grew 5 times the size, and it blew up in the best way. And like South Bay Strength Company, my goal of that gym was always for it to be like a destination gym. Like when you think of Cali, you think of Zoo Culture or Metroflex, Barbell Brigade, all that, right? Like, you know those gyms. People who aren't from Cali, I knew all those gyms. When I first started dating Steven, I wanted to go to Gold's, you know? We're on that list now. And it's sick. Like, people come into town just to come see our gym. People from all over the world know our gym. And it's like, that's what I wanted. It's such a cool place to be. And then Steven went and fucked it all up. He died.
He just died.
He went and just died, you know? Motherfucker. So 2 years in, so we moved in 2021. It took us a long time to get the permits and all that because of COVID. And Steven was a bodybuilder. And I made him stop bodybuilding in 2021. I also was a pro powerlifter, and I stopped my pro sport, and I needed him to stop his pro sport because we had a big undertaking in the transition of this building. He was like the muscle. Not only was he the visionary, but anytime we needed to move equipment, do heavy lifting, he was a plumber. He's very mechanically inclined. He did all that stuff. So he was needed a lot at that time. And I couldn't handle him bodybuilding. Like, it changed. We had such a beautiful, wonderful relationship. And then when he was in prep, it was like a different relationship that I didn't like being in. But sometimes you have to make those sacrifices when you're with somebody, because if he's not pursuing his dreams, how is he living a fulfilling and rewarding life? If he's supporting me in all of my dreams, I need to be able to do the same, even if I don't love what he's doing.
Correct.
So I could internalize that. But at that time, I needed him present. So I was like, you need to quit for now, like an undetermined amount of time, maybe forever, because this business is now our livelihood, because we both left our jobs. He got laid off because of COVID, and I just left. And so he started to resent me for not being able to do bodybuilding. So I was like, all right, guess what? The gym's doing great. Go at it. So he went all in. Okay, all in.
Yeah, because you held him hostage for how long was he not doing it for?
A year.
But he was still working out. He just wasn't competing, but he had that itch, that drive to want to do the shows.
Yeah, I could just tell he was going to resent me for the rest of his life if I was the one who stopped him from seeing his true potential. And unfortunately, one of the reasons why I wanted him to stop is because I was so worried about how dangerous it was to his health. Like, not only did it really hurt our relationship, it was like watching him go through that process. People think bodybuilding is this iconic pillar of health and wellness because you look so good. You're actually at your most unhealthy state the moment you're on stage.
Yeah, and right, there's two different parts of the lifestyle, right, too. And I think, when we talked about sharing this story too, like, we're going to dive into the depths of like, the steroid aspect, because I think there's levels to it, right? If you're doing the competing plus the steroids, that puts even more of a toll. And so that's where, inevitably put Steven where he's at, right? Because I live it in a lifestyle, still dangerous, but there's even more severities of, the competing aspect versus just the lifestyle of living it.
To get that dry, to get that hard, to get that lean. Yeah, we'll totally go into that in depth. But basically him revisiting bodybuilding is what ended up taking his life. Like, he did 2 really gnarly preps back to back. The first one almost killed him. He was exhibiting signs and symptoms. And now when people get all offensive, like, bodybuilding didn't kill him, steroids did. Well, yes, it's the whole thing. It's the drugs and the diet.
No
and
regulation. There's none of that.
Yeah, it's an ungodly amount of unregulated drugs, dieting till you're starving, and like his organs basically all failed. So for me, just to say he died from bodybuilding is the easiest way to sum all that up without going into the sequelae of gruesome details.
Correct.
But it ruined my life. June 3rd, 2023, like I did not see it coming. It happened in the middle of the night. I still have a lot of trauma and PTSD.
Was he prepping for a show?
He was 3 weeks out.
3 weeks out.
3 weeks out. And we'll probably get into like the specific details on another episode, but like from that moment on, like I had some minor traumas as a child. Like, I watched my friend get raped. My brother got kicked out of the house when I was young, but like, relatively speaking, I was pretty good. This moment, like Matrix, like, ooh, changed my world. Everything upended, and I immediately hated my life. I never loved being in LA, which I think it's ironic I'm wearing a Los Angeles shirt.
I know, it's fitting though. It's fitting.
And I hated it the whole time I was there. I'm not an urban city girl, and I loved Steven more than I hated being there. So it was fine. And we ended up creating our world. Like, the gym and where we lived was like a 12-minute drive. So it's not like I had to deal with a lot of the problems of LA. But like, I never wanted to live there, and now I'm there without my person. Now I have this business that we started together 6 years ago with blood, sweat, and tears, and put all the sweat equity in it to build this empire, to make it our lives. And now I have to walk in there every single day knowing that the person that I did this with is dead. I hated it. I still don't like being there at all. Hold on. I brought tissues for the occasion. I feel them coming.
Do you want to share like what that last day was? Are you feeling like you want to share that in other episodes?
I feel like I'll share that in other episodes.
Okay.
Because the story of his death is a pretty significant cautionary tale, and I think when we start to talk about steroids, I can get more into depth of that, because everybody thinks it's not going to happen to them, but the scariest part is it can absolutely happen to you.
Yeah.
And bodybuilding is a sport where you ignore the warning signs because they're a part of the process. So after he died, I just like, all I could think was, I need to sell this business. I need to get out of this place. I'm not happy here. And it took me 18 months to get to the point where I could leave. From, not only did we have a duplex, but at the time he died, we were in the process of buying a house. And I ended up buying it by myself. We were supposed to sign the papers the day after he died. So they rewrote the loan, and then the house was just mine. And then I transferred the other house into my name. So I was like in the process of moving too when he died. Like, all that was a fog for me. It took so long for me to get out of it. And I'll also go into a lot more detail about everything I did involving my grief and Steven's death. But like, I learned more about how to live my life through my husband dying than I ever did while living life. Like, the lessons that I see now that I couldn't see through clearly, the gems that he left me with about myself that I couldn't see clearly until now that I see through the lens that he's gone. And I think the best part about him leaving in our relationship is that I don't have any regrets, because nothing was left unsaid between us. We said everything, the good, the bad, the ugly. Like, fighting was for sport for us. Like, And that's where a lot of people get hung up and they start to deteriorate because they feel this guilt of I should have done this and I should have done that. And I'm like proud of myself because way back when I got divorced, I was like, I'm gonna live my life for me and I'm gonna do everything I want to do. And Steven was just adding to that, like I told him all the time, like, I don't need to be with you. I want to be with you.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a big difference there.
Yeah.
And I loved the love that we shared can transcend lifetimes. And that's why I knew I needed to move immediately. We are back. We experienced some technical difficulties.
We're working out the kinks, and
Yes.
not those types of kinks, the electronic kinks. So, anyways, as you were saying, there was an emptiness.
I hated being in the place that we created. Like I took a different way to the gym to work than I did home. And every day on the way home, I had to pass the hospital that Steven died at. Like, it was not the place I wanted to be. So I just knew that I needed to set up my world so that I could leave. And like, it took me 18 months to get to that point. Like so not only did we have the duplex that we lived in, but we had a house that we just had bought. And it just it was such a difficult thing to get everything set up and get it for sale. And then I tried to sell the business twice and it failed. And it was a really shitty time because I couldn't leave my life. Like, I didn't get a break from the gym, from the place, being inundated with what we created together. It was so sad. And it was so hard for me to be there. So once I was able to leave in January, the second guy that I was selling the gym to, he just made a failure, catastrophic failure. And I ended up coming home, firing him, and just looking around and being like, I need to wake up to my own world. Like, I was asleep for 18 months. Just what grief does to your brain, it changes your neurochemistry. Like, I was not the same person that I am right now. I haven't been. And I invested some time, a lot of money into the gym, just things that hadn't been done in a long time since Steven died. And I got a manager in there. I sold my duplex, and then my house is actually closing in just a couple days from today. And I shipped my happy ass off to Vegas. And it's so poetic because it's the place that Steven and I met. And now I'm back here, and it doesn't feel bad. It doesn't feel bad at all.
Yeah, because like we were saying too, you went over. Where did you say you go when you saw that view of Mandalay Bay?
At the top of my street, I can see
And that's
Mandalay
just
Bay.
coincidence. Yeah. Like, you didn't get that place based off of those. And the sweet part of that is you're still being able to cherish probably one of the most huge impactful moments of meeting him, and now you're in the place where you met him, and you can see this from the strip. That's awesome.
Yeah, and since I've moved, I just feel so much better. It is a liberating experience to be away from the place that gave you so much trauma. And that's why, I'm excited to be on this podcast because I've learned so much in life. I didn't have a traumatic upbringing. This was the first introduction I had to some craziness in my life, and it really changed me. And I'm forever grateful for this experience, although I wish it never happened. I can't change the course of my life, but it has changed me in fundamental ways where I care more deliberately about the life that I'm living and the people that I surround myself with. And I know that what I've learned can be an asset to others, and I'm excited to share it. And just as Devin's going to, I'm going to get way more in depth in, certain areas of my life. Once we introduce who we are, we're going to just have topics of discussion as our podcast episodes. And I know we'll get into more nitty gritty, but that's me. That's where I'm at. That brings, you guys up to date with my story and my life. And I'm excited to share more with everybody. I'm excited to hear your story next and hear you publicly talk about shreds because you never addressed anything. And I'm excited for both of us to share what we've learned through our own mistakes, taking accountability, learning and growing from something that usually either breaks people down or makes people weaker, and help empower others.
Yeah, and like we talked about today too, taking accountability for things when you're wrong or just in a shitty situation, whatever. It's a hard thing to do. And I think a lot of people struggle there, but there's so much clarity. Just like you said, you found so much difference in Steven because of his transparency to you, and so that drew you to him. I think that's the beautiful thing about growing is when you can be transparently you. There's nothing to lose in those scenarios. And like we talked about too, that accountability. It's a hard thing.
Yeah.
Especially when you're wrong. I think that's the hardest part.
We learn every day. I just learned today that some people can't hold themselves accountable.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just got to
Exactly.
let people go.
Yeah. So, I appreciate you giving, that little backstory. It allows me to learn more. And, even in our short period of being friends and getting close, I think it's, awesome to hear like more layers of you. And part of this podcast is also me, we've had great topics of conversation and then translating them into our friendship, and it's growing. And so I'm getting to learn, just as much as everyone else is hearing your story, I'm getting to hear it as well. So I'm excited to dive into the deep core topics that we've already kind of discussed about that. And, obviously now that we've kind of given them, up to speed with where you are now we got to go into the other side, right? And we got to share mine. So, we're going to go into our next couple episodes of kind of just giving, where the journey of mine started and where it's got me to today. Like we talked about with people knowing shreds and, all the back history to where the present day is. And I'm doing OnlyFans and, all the different, eyes and attention to that. And I think the big thing from me and the growth too is like seeing what things used to be the non-norm that are now.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think telling that journey, and I'm really excited to share. It's a lot of nerves coming from it because it's like having to go back to those depths, kind of like with you having to relive and tell the story with Steven. It's like I have to go back to those dark moments and relive them. But as much as I have to relive it, it's also a matter of giving me the opportunity to show where my growth is. So I'm super excited for the next couple episodes. I know a lot of people will be excited for it. So I think
tune in next. You can follow us on Instagram. It's the Tell No Lies podcast.
For Instagram, Tell No Lies podcast.
Just Tell No Lies podcast. The website is tellnoliespod.com. You can find us on all streaming platforms. YouTube, just search Tell No Lies Pod. And his handle, Devin Fazik. My handle is Ashley Contorno.
Does it still feel weird to say that?
Yeah.
Like, do you catch yourself wanting to be like veggie lifter?
A little bit. Well, I have promo codes that are like veggie 20. Who's veggie?
Are you going to switch that then?
No. It's fine.
You could still leave little paper trails of you.
Yeah. Veggie lifter is the old. Ashley Contorno is the new. Here we are.
I love it.
Thank you guys for listening. It's a lot of information that I just trauma dumped on all you, but I hope that you guys stick around to learn more about how I've healed, how I've grown, and how maybe something that I've gone through can help you as well. And Devin, same thing.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. All right, guys, until next time, we will see you on the next episode.
Bye.
Peace.